Good afternoon and welcome along to the Greenyards for round 2 of the FOSROC Suer6 Sprint Series, and it's a glorious day here in the Scottish borders. And it's the Southern Knights who are returning home wounded from their travels last weekend after they suffered a heavy defeat to Heriots at Goldenacre, whilst the visitors of Watsonians were successful on home soil in their tight clash with Stirling County. And it's a short campaign and both teams will be looking to try and get some points on the board to put themselves in contention for the crown come the end of this campaign. And alongside me this afternoon is John Dalziel, Scotland assistant coach, who's had many successful years here at the Greenyards, but it's difficult to gauge where the Southern Knights are after a very heavy defeat last week, and they'll be looking to come out here and try and put in a performance.
Well, yeah, and I think there'll be a different proposition here at home. It's a short campaign and it's a short pre-season for the lads, and I don't think we can read too much into it in the first games all round. I think they'll be far more competitive, and I think being back at home will be great for them.
And Watsonians, they've got a very strong squad. They've got 3 changes to the lineup from last week, but they'll build on the confidence. Do they start this game as favourites?
They do, I think, based on last week's results, definitely, and performances. And I think you've seen a bit of that through all the teams this week. There's a bit of a reshuffle in a lot of the teams, just trying to freshen up. There'll be a lot of lads that have done all the hard work in their pre-season, their preparation, and they'll want to try and get most of the squad a start or some sort of game time over the first couple of weekends.
You know a few of these players very well for your involvement over the age grade system over time. Is there any players that you think are going to make a huge impact in the way that this game is going to be fought?
Well, I think there's a bit of familiarity in both teams. There's a lot of good players that have kind of been through that academy system now and are looking to be your first year professionals. I thought Nathan Chamberlain at 10 for the Knights will be a key player for there in a key position, and guys like Lewis Berg that's been kind of a mainstay in that Watsonians midfield as well will be somebody to keep an eye on. But there's a lot of really good youngsters around that are going to really flourish in this championship.
And there's a lot of interesting talent and interesting players throughout the whole squads. Having a look at the home team there, they've made a few changes to last week's team. They've got Callum Grieve coming in at inside centre, and Ian Sim gets a start on the wing. Along with that, Russell Anderson is going to captain the side from hooker. He starts in place of Fraser Rennick, and then in the back row, Wallace Nelson gets his first start for the Southern Knights in the back row, starting at open side flanker. On the bench as well, they've got the likes of Rudy Brown to call on from Edinburgh, as well as their vice-captain, co-captain Fraser Rennick, who will make an impact off the bench, and Robbie Chalmers will be making his debut for the Southern Knights if he enters the fray later on in this fixture. The away side, Watsonians, after a very good result in their first game against Stirling County, where they got a last-minute penalty to beat Stirling County, they've made 3 changes. Lewis Berg, an outside centre, comes in. Also, Murray Scott gets a start at scrum half, and Campbell Wilson gets a start in the back row. Cal Davis captains the side from hooker. He'll be looking to try and build on his performance from last week. He got man of the match, and he's been in the press speaking about how much he's enjoying his time at Watsonians in Suer6, and also his involvement with Edinburgh as well. Charlie Shield and Frostwick coming off the bench as well will make an impact, as well as Harry Fisher. He's a very interesting player to come on. Front row cover, they've got Dan Gamble, Cole Imrie and Matt Pritchard as well. So certainly a strong looking Watsonians team. I'm just waiting on the sides exiting the tunnels, but looking on the balance of the Suer6, the way things are, is Watsonians are led onto the field by their captain Cal Davis. You've got to get a quick start in these games.
They do, yeah. They call it the sprint series, and you've really got to get off to that flyer, haven't you? Every point's valuable. But as I say, I thought the first weekend will be about finding your feet, getting a real competitive fixture under your belt, and they'll all had a good week's training, put a few things to right, and I think we could be in for a cracker today. 2 free-flowing teams.
The Southern Knights led onto the turf there. They've got Grant Shields, a lot of experience in the front row from Grant Shields from his time with Newcastle Falcons in Edinburgh, along with his time from the club he came out of, Kelso. A Borders guy coming back to offer up his services in the semi-professional game. And Ian Kenny,
the
referee for the fixture, should
just wait for the whistle, please.
have a good day, considering the conditions are very advantageous for route and flow in rugby.
Yeah, and I love the pitch as well, isn't it?
We'll
It's a
figure
really
it out.
great setting. It's the
Watson's
first time
ready.
being up here in the press
Ready,
box,
guys?
overlooking the new surface, and you know, it's been a revelation for the town and for Melrose Rugby and the Knights.
Chamberlain gets play underway, and it's a pinpoint kick right into the 22, and it was allowed to bounce by Watsonians. It's going to go out for a defensive line out, and Cal Davis will get an early tester here, and he'll be hoping to try and hit his target so they don't invite any pressure. First job done for Cal Davis as the maul is formed. He's got to offer himself up as well to secure that ball and give a platform for Murray Scott to try and exit the 22. He offloads, and trying to set up a nice secure platform, but Southern Knights in there trying to make life very, very difficult for the visitors.
He's not competing, it's fine.
Baggett with a clearance kick which doesn't exit the 22. A pitch he knows very, very well with his time here before with Melrose and also with the Southern Knights.
Yeah, and look, you know, battle of the tens there. I thought really good kick there by Nathan Chamberlain to kick deep into the. He found a bit of grass, which means that Watsonians straight away are having to exit, and you know the Knights defended that very well, and you know as a result they get an attacking line at the 22.
Anderson accurate with his line out and trying to set up this maul, which is such an interesting attacking platform for teams, but it's been very well defended by Watsonians. Knights having to dig about to try and get the ball back on their side to try and strike and build the first real meaningful attack here in this fixture. Brace. Southern Knights conceding some territory, but Chamberlain passing out the back, finding Callum Grieve just out the back door, who again sets up that attacking platform, and Chamberlain clapping, wanting the ball, and looks to try and take play closer towards that Watsonians 22.
No, red ball.
I think they probably took a touch on the way there, but pitch judges maybe thinking otherwise.
Yeah, I think,
like Melrose are getting the line out.
I think the touch judge is signalling that it is going to be a throw into the line out. Both hookers with the ball, so they're certainly. I think Russell Anderson has conceded that it's not going to be his line out, so Cal Davis has won that battle for the meantime. Another good line out finds Ian Moody, who's again another player who's went across to Watsonians. Ian Moody, Sean Gunn and Jason Baggett, who start in the Watsonians team this afternoon, spent last season in the Super 6 here with the Southern Knights. And Ian Moody does well at the line out, and Watsonians set up a very good maul. Bit of a mess on the floor there, the referee Ian Kenny having a good look at that, but Watsonians seem to have secured this. Van Niekerk to try and secure that ball, but perhaps more tactically trying to get back inside the 22. Now Berg, returned from injury, outside centre.
Stay 7.
Baggett just slotting himself in the pocket, exiting play from the 22, and although Watsonians have spent most of the time deep inside their 22, they look pretty structured.
They do, yeah, and I thought it's going to be an interesting match-up around the set piece. You've got two ex-Edinburgh professional middle rows, and Lewis Carmichael and Fergus Pringle there, and I know that they spend a lot of time on the line out both sides and enjoy that part of the game. We've been thrilled with 3 minutes 48, we've gone into our fourth line out already, so it's going to be a very contested area in the game.
Yeah, last night's game between Boroughmuir and Heriots, it was Boroughmuir 22, Heriots 38, and line-outs were pretty scrappy at times. And that's a great flat back for Watsonians to get that just ahead of Harry Borthwick, but it has come back on a Southern Knights side. Daniel Sudden with his first meaningful carry. Wallace Nelson now, who's getting his first start for the Southern Knights. Redpath try to snipe round the sides of the ruck, try and unlock this gap, but never had any players in there for support. But the ball does again come back to Southern Knights, and they're enjoying a sustained period of pressure. 4.5 minutes in, and it's been all Southern Knights so far. They win the penalty. And in the sprint, these sort of decisions, this is obviously a kickable penalty, but you know, tries are paramount in the sprint series.
They are, yeah, and Melrose on this occasion opting for the post, but I've been really impressed with Daniel Sutton at the start of this game. He's been heavily involved around the set piece, the maul defence, and the two Watsonians exit mauls there, but stepping up and carrying the ball. He's a great size, and you know he comes off good pedigree, and he's really flourishing in that Knights jersey.
Yeah, that's a very consistent second row pairing of Dalton Redpath and Daniel Sutton. The hard work from Sutton has invited the first opportunity for points on the board for the Southern Knights. There's going to be Nathan Chamberlain with the penalty. There's been a good connection with that through the sticks, 3-0 Southern Knights, and from the pressure that's probably just rewards.
It is right, yeah, and I think the two big areas around possession and territory, I think the territory is the key there. Melrose have opted to kick long from that first restart, and they've kept Watsonians pinned pretty deep, and not always having the ball, but being able to force pressure through their defence and their attack and start the game with a 3-point lead.
A familiar kicker at the Greenyards, just in different colours, as Baggett pins it deep into the Southern Knights 22, and perhaps the Southern Knights star man is underneath the ball, Harry Borthwick. And big number 8 had a brilliant season last year for the beaten finalists in the regular Super 6 season. Redpath looking to exit his 22 and finds good ground, but Coates there does well to retrieve the ball and bring it back on a Watsonian side. Seb Cecil, a try scorer last week against Stirling County, carries the ball and wins a penalty for Watsonians, and that's the sort of thing that you want to do. After you concede points, you want to be making sure that you put pressure back on the opposition to try and build some momentum of your own.
Yeah, 100%. Really, originally a very good exit by Melrose, minimalistic with their rucks in their own half and a good kick from Murray Redpath. Very close there. Grant Shields going for the jackal there, but hands just touching the floor. And a really good bit of refereeing, to be fair.
Yeah, it's something that we were speaking about last night with Paul Mitchell when we were covering the game, Boroughmuir versus Heriots, the standard of refereeing, and JP Doyle was watching on as well. It's certainly an area of Scottish rugby which is flourishing at the moment. A lot of very talented officials at our disposal. It's a development tool for officials as well, not just the players on display. Cecil gathering from the line out, and Carl Davis is going to take his habitual position at the back of that maul and try and protect it. It doesn't get much go forward there for Watsonians. He's got to feed it to Berg. Berg taking play up towards the 22 as Watsonians look to get some momentum into their game. But he's been met with some very stern Southern Knights defence. Redpath on that occasion offering himself up for some defensive work, but Watsonians just getting round the far side, taking play into the 22 now. And Cecil again with a powerful carry, sucking in a few Southern Knights players.
Nice.
Watsonians securing the ball well here and in the hands of Baggett. Baggett's found Berg. Berg back inside. It's in the hands of Ryan Daly.
Penalty advantage, 4 offside. 4 offside.
This ball linking up well there, and the cries of free ball now as the advantage comes for Watsonians, and they look to try and unlock this Southern Knights defence. Conceding a little bit of territory from the powerful and dynamic defensive effort, but the gap is there. Watsonians again just snapped round the ankles. Baggett now out the back, great offload there. Berg riding the tackle. Ball floated over, but the Southern Knights players get across, and Kieran Clark putting in a good tackle round the ankles there. And now Cal Davis coming at a cute angle, but he's clattered by Borthwick and Grieve.
You have 2 penalties.
But he's going to come back, and Watsonians patient in their build-up there.
They were, yeah, and I think Melrose given away the penalty there, but they're happy with that. It's about not conceding in that area, and I think we talked about the territory being key, and Watsonians' challenges now, they've got to turn this territory into points, and it'll be interesting to see whether they go for the post or they go back to the line-out maul.
You can just see visuals of Cal Davis running that acute line into contact and getting absolutely clattered, but he knew they had the ball to play with.
Yeah, two physical players there, wasn't it? I thought Carl Davis last weekend was a real standout player for Watsonians, and you mentioned Harry Bothwick and the rise of him over the last 2 years, Super 6, and two big men there meeting each other on the gain line, introducing each other.
But Cal Davis was brilliant over the ball last weekend as well, and you know, you've already mentioned Grant Shields. It's important that your front row players are, you know, they try and jackal and get turnovers as well.
It is, yeah, all round, and I think we've got experienced guys here. Cal, you know, unfortunately not to play even at a higher level. His performances originally for Boroughmuir and for Watsonians over a number of years, he's been a top player, and Grant Shields has experience in the professional game as well, and real all-rounders, and they'll help the youngsters around it too.
Watsonians now from that line out, securing the ball, and Cal Davis has got the ball tucked underneath his arm, and again the advantage is coming, so Watsonians have got a free ball to play with. Defensively at the mauls, Southern Knights doing very well to thwart any attacking intent from the visitors, but the penalty is coming. They do have that free ball. They try and truck it up through the middle, but being again met with some vastly improved Southern Knights defence. Cal Davis trying to burrow his way through contact. Now Baggett trying to go it alone, step back in field, but again being wrapped up well in defence. Ian Sim coming off his wing on this occasion to help the cause.
No, ball's lifted, timing's good. Roll 7.
Watsonians come again to try and find the answer to this really robust Southern Knights defence, but the penalty's coming. They've got options here, but defensively Southern Knights digging in.
They have, yeah, it's a good defensive set again there. Look, it was a really well set maul there by Watsonians, and I think it was going over the line there. When it's in that last 5 metres, you've got to intervene pretty quickly, whether it's legal or not, and you know, pretty streetwise by Melrose to take the penalty there rather than concede the points, and you know they'll have to do it all over again.
Baggett just nudges it into the corner, and Cal Davis ready as ever with the ball, ready just to throw into the line out, and just waiting on his troops arriving as they discuss the choreography at this line out.
There's number 3 here.
This is a very good chance for Watsonians to try and get some scores on the board. Just trailing by the 3 points. That penalty from Nathan Chamberlain on 5 minutes. They hit their first target. They've been driven back slightly by the Southern Knights.
That's backwards through the mark. One stop.
And again, Cal Davis at the back of that maul, but in pirouetting and not being able to find any room, but Berg bursting through.
Yeah, it was a good decision there by Melrose or the Knights should be said, to stay down on the floor. They didn't compete at the line out, to be super organised on the floor, and they did well to thwart that maul effort. Now they've got to dig in defensively, and
Baggett out the back. He has found a runner there that slipped the tackle as well, and that looks like that could be Ryan Daly in for a score. Cute work, cute hands from Baggett as he managed to find the winger, just working hard off his wing, found the gap, slipped the tackle and gets over for a score, and it is Ryan Daly with the first try of the game, and it's Watsonians who nip in front.
Yeah, and that experience there by Jason Baggett. There's had a couple of really good touches in there that have almost led to line breaks, and it was just, you know, consistent pressure there at the line. Great defence by Melrose to hold out for 3 or 4 minutes there, but eventually Watsonians too much quality there, and a good try, well taken.
I think the line by Guthrie as well, who just managed to suck in the defenders to allow that space for Daly in behind. Good work from the Watsonians back to get them off the mark.
Yeah, and it's really important when you've got that long possession and the opposition's 22. We see it a lot at all levels of the game there. It's about converting that pressure into points, and Watsonians will be glad with their first opportunity down there. They've come away with points, and they take the lead for the first time.
Just let me know if you need
it's
time.
A conversion as well for Baggett. He's returning here. He spent a long time here with Melrose
for a second, please, 10.
and with the Southern Knights, and in between a spell with Edinburgh, and it's a great asset to Watsonians.
Some technical issues. Despite me wearing 4 microphones, we're still having technical issues.
The referees
Is it me?
just going to try and sort out their communications as they.
Okay.
As
Yeah.
Ian Kenny
See how they're sheared off, like.
Yeah.
is going to have a little conversation with Rudy Knott just now, but
Nah, I'll just double check.
it's been a relatively
Alright, guys,
open
turn
start
back
for
on.
both teams.
Wherever
The
you're at.
Knights look good in defence and good in attack, but Watsonians replied really quickly there with the score and showing the power up front.
Yeah, the Knights will be looking to get some possession. We've not really seen them too much with ball in hand so far, done a lot of defending, whether it be up here from the first restart or in their own 22. So they'll be looking to try and, at home get some possession and assert their authority on the game.
Use!
Murray Scott having to try and
Come on, use!
just address that ball back to the back of that ruck to exit, and it's a good exit kick there, and it's scrappy at the back. And Kieran Clark trying to gather that ball, just not bouncing up for him as he'd hoped, and it's just knocked on. And in terms of an exit play, that's what you want. You want an awkward kick for the opposition and try and get some territory.
That's exactly it. Yeah, you minimise your amount of opportunities to give the opposition by the rucks you have deep, and a really good contestable kick. I thought originally it went a little bit longer than thought, but the kick chase was very good and applied that pressure. And now Watsonians have a attacking scrum in the Melrose half.
6 shoulders, please. Get that shoulder right.
Logan McPherson loitering across at the stand side here at the Greenyards. He was a try scorer in the game against Stirling County last week, a game which they won narrowly by 2 points, but certainly showing that they've got some weapons in their arsenal in the backs.
Stay bound 8.
A very solid scrum there from both teams. Now Berg, who's been tasked with setting the platform.
No ball.
Now Lewis Ball, Germany under 18 cap. Lewis Ball. Now the try scorer Ryan Daly working off his wing, trying to manipulate that overload. And then Van Niekerk just spilling the ball into contact, taking his eye off it momentarily, and that allows Southern Knights a chance to counter.
Now it's on the chest. Tackle 2.
There's a big overlap on this side. They can get the ball through the hands, but Sudden just getting in the road, just getting caught between two minds whether he was going to gather that ball or be a dummy runner, and it's just bounced off him.
There was a couple of handling errors there from both sides there. Pretty sloppy play there, but huge opportunity for the Knights there on this left-hand touchline if that ball had gone to hand.
At the game last night, the accuracy from Heriots, they took their chances when they were available, and that's one of those chances that they get the ball through the hands. They've got players, lethal players like Ian Sim on the wing who can certainly do a lot of damage. A very powerful winger. He's very Jordan Edmonds-esque, Ian Sim.
Yeah, big lad, big physical player. And we see here, you can see in the more contested, the technical areas of the game, the extra time that they get at Super 6, you can see the difference around clarity on maul defence or setting up maul and scrums. So it's a simple handling errors that you want to try and eradicate now. We expect a little bit more from.
I'll come around. I'll come around. I'll come around.
That's it, boys.
The referee just going to change his position in the scrum just to check the side where
too much weight from both sides
Grant Shields.
Before we come together, okay, guys? So let's just hold our weight back on the bind and then come together. Thank you.
Yep. Here we go.
Something I try and stay very clear of is the dark arts of the front row. You'll have more of an understanding than I do, but the referee obviously making his position very clear to both sets of forwards.
Yeah, we waited quite a while for our first scrum, and now we've had a couple, and both teams look quite evenly matched. Nobody's really looking for go forward. I think we just want stable platforms. Two teams that both want to play rugby, so let's get the ball in and out.
At the feet of Moody, away from it by Scott, and now Berg has found a little gap in defence, and it's a great offload, but tracking back there from Murray Redpath.
Yeah, it's been interesting how they're using Lewis Baird from their scrum attack. He's stepping up in first receiver. We know he's very he's good in these direct lines with the carries like he did on that occasion. But on the first scrum, I feel he was he was maybe trying to make Jason Baggett play a little bit wider out there. So it'll be interesting to see how that interaction between Berg and Baggett worked throughout the afternoon.
Coates there clearing his lines, but it's just into the breadbasket of Kieran Clark. And he's been clattered just over the halfway line.
Just over the shoulder, number 11. Just a penalty only, high tackle. Number 11, high tackle, penalty only.
Ryan Daly been penalised there for that high tackle on Kieran Clark, a player he played a bit in the Premiership for Selkirk
Just where you
in the
are.
last season, and he's returning from injury, but he is a very important part of the attacking play from the Southern Knights.
Yeah, we've seen him probably a couple of years ago in the border circuit in the sevens, didn't we? As a very young man getting opportunities to play in the Melrose side. So we know, and we've seen him this year in the under-20s Six Nations, and a real talented lad. Really look to see him with some ball in hand this afternoon on a pitch like this.
Right here.
I think I remember him playing Earlston Sevens, and he was about, I think he was about 3-year-old and got player of the tournament. So he seems like he's been around for a while.
That's a young man's game nowadays.
Jesus.
Technical issues again with the referees as they just.
Genie, Mac. Right. Good end.
I think that's a little bit of punishment there for as they sort out their mics. But this is a good position for the Southern Knights to be in after last weekend's. It was a heavy defeat against Heriots. Heriots are looking very good this season, but you've got to make home advantage count when you've got your games at your home patch to try and get points on the board.
You have, yeah, and this will definitely be something that you want and you look forward to through the week, is your launches from lineouts in the opposition 22. So Lewis Carmichael's been an excellent operator. He's now finished playing and he's coaching. He'll have something up the sleeve, no doubt at all, from this line out. So
apologies, guys. Okay. Okay, that's fine.
You know yourself, obviously, you've come through Gala, Melrose, you're now enjoying a very successful coaching career. We do watch the players on display. We've obviously spoken about the referees, but this is a great development tool for the coaches, like Fergus Pringle, Bruce Ruthven, who are the head coaches, Nicky Walker obviously involved with Watsonians as well. This is what Super 6 is all about.
100%, it's a great pathway for that as well. You're right, it's not just about players, about the coaches, the S&C staff, the managers, the general managers, the ability to run programmes, to operate with players in a kind of semi or full-time basis. And it's excellent to see the level of coaching that we have in Super 6 this year.
Another successful line out for the Southern Knights. And they look to find Grieve, who's got Chamberlain, and he's trying to release Clark in some space. He's been tracked across. Now finds Ian Sim, who looks to bounce in and bounce back out, but he's been well defended inside the 22. Redpath has to scurry across to keep the tempo up. Not now. Just throwing himself into contact, and Chamberlain distributing to Grieve. Grieve's got Billy Wara with his first chance to release his outside centre. Redpath finding Brace. It's his third carry of this afternoon. Makes good ground on that occasion. Now Anderson, the captain, perhaps got himself caught in a little bit of an awkward position there.
Yeah, a little I suppose adjustment to the laws over the last couple of years, just that extra roll he took in as he's placing the ball. Real temptation to do that on a fast pitch like this when you're hitting the floor, but he's an experienced campaigner, he should know that, and it's a technicality, it's a little flaw, but another really good decision by the referee to spot that, and 100% justified. Watsonians get a chance to clear their lines.
And it was that man Carl Davis who had his body over the ball. Jacqueline again, the hooker. He had a great afternoon last weekend against Stirling County. He's getting one up on his opposite man. Both teams led from the front by their hookers. And Baggett finds touch just short of halfway. Almost to this point, however, both teams have kind of cancelled each other out. There's been few real clear-cut chances.
Yeah, and look, I think that was probably one of Melrose's most promising opportunities there, and we chatted around that, getting to that finish, so it's all about your conversion rate. It's I suppose the biggest task for a coach, the thing you look at the most every year, and how many times you get into there and how many times you convert. And thought it was a really good first attack there by Ian Sim, and
A good catch at the back there for Wallace Nelson, who just grabs it off the line out. Redpath finds Anderson, who's got Chamberlain, and they're screaming out wide for the ball to be released. It eventually is. Clark gets the ball through the hands to Sim. Sim bounces off the first man, offloads back inside to Billy Wara. He just can't keep the ball in hand, and it's trundled out. It's been knocked on in the process as well. But Southern Knights showing how dangerous they can be on the counter.
Oh, that's more like the Southern Knights that we know of Oldham last season. Some excellent play there again. We've seen all sorts in there. We've seen a loop pass, a little bridge pass to the width, 2 offloads in there, and Christian Quagger Van Niekerk, an excellent bit of defending there, not only to make the tackle but to strip the ball within the contact as well. So he's got Watsonians out of jail there. Great bit of defence.
Good calls from the wider channels to get the ball into that area, but just not able to keep the ball in hand there. Billy Wara is a very, very dangerous player with ball in hand. But Watsonians doing well to scamper across, and the chance is gone for the Southern Knights on this occasion. Again, another solid scrum from both sides, cancelling each other out in the tighter areas. Berg trucking up, finds Moody now. Almost got his arms free for the offload. And perhaps thought twice, he's in a relatively dangerous area.
Back foot. Use 9.
And now the forwards cluster round to try and protect their 9. Back into the pocket to Baggett, and he clears downfield. He finds some good ground as well. Just a couple of metres shy of the halfway line, and Watsonians, when they look like they're in danger, they do well to exit their own 22.
Yeah, they look very clean in that area, and obviously you're looking there, what's your strategy? Are you kicking off 9, are you kicking off 10, are the right or left footed? And you've seen Watsonians taking a couple of phases infield there just to make that kick all the easier for Jason Baggett. He's done very well to take them almost up to the halfway line. So another clean exit for Watsonians.
Anderson finds Sudden. Now Chamberlain finds Knott coming really hard into the line. Anderson now coming round. Look to try and open up the space back on the stand side, and now Redpath offering himself up in the loop. Baggett shooting out the line, and Borthwick now pinning the ears back. He's got a player outside. If he can find Sim, can he find the line? He bounced off the first man, he's just trundled into touch. And that is great defensive work from Watsonians to get across. He thought Ian Sim was going to stay on his feet and get the ball over the line, but he just couldn't keep his balance as he was treading the tightrope of the touch line. And you can see here what a break that was from the Southern Knights.
It was Harry Borthwick, you mentioned him earlier, an excellent line. He had the presence to try and get that ball free to Sim, who's been looked very powerful on this left-hand touchline, and another great tackle there. Last bit, last ditch defence for Watsonians.
Just not able to keep the ball alive, and that's another opportunity for the Southern Knights to get a try in this game. But I think they'll welcome still being camped inside the Watsonians 22. Baggett looking to kick downfield again, and he's just exited the 22. Justin no more. There's a swirling wind going from right to left, which is perhaps making things a little bit difficult for the fly half, but I'm sure that's a welcome sight for all these Southern Knights and Melrose supporters which are here at the Greenyards. Yeah,
and they'll be happy where the game is getting played, won't they? Generally you don't get a lot of lineouts in a game that deep in your own 22. Exits are, you get more in the opposition zones, but Watsonians have been having to do a lot of that so far and exit more than needed. So it shows the pressure that the Knights are applying, and they get a chance now to go with their own maul.
They're trying to apply the pressure up front now with the maul. Anderson securing it. Watsonians players guilty of changing their bind there. And now Grieve looking to try and put the crossfield kick in and make it contestable for Patrick Anderson on that far side, but it's been well covered, and they'll come back for the penalty. And it's difficult. The Southern Knights and Melrose for years gone by, they've been formidable up front, and especially with the drive and maul, and it is such a dangerous component now of rugby.
Yeah, as I said, look, it's been our DNA here for a long period of time, and you'll see that with your Russell Andersons and Fraser Rennick have been top try scorers over the years out the back of these mauls, and Lewis Carmichael's carrying on that tradition up here, and it puts the defence under a lot of pressure, and the referee a good decision there, changing the bind, pulling them all to the floor, and Mel's got an opportunity now 5 metres out to go back to what is a weapon for them.
I just think you have to step off a bit, Sean.
Trying to bring that attacking threat that much closer to the line, as Russell Anderson just receives his last orders from Grant Shields. Job one is to find the target in the line out, and it doesn't go to plan there from the Southern Knights, and Cal Davis tries to break free from his 22. Ian Moody now offloading to his scrum half Scott. Baggett now taking the ball up and then looking back with Scott, as Watsonians try and exploit this fragmented defence from what was an attacking position from the Southern Knights. And then the exit strategy is deployed, and Scott takes up the position at the back of the ruck to box kick downfield. Put a little tester up there for Clark, but does well. No. Gets his body in a good position, and Southern Knights get the ball back and look to come again. Anderson taking the ball up now. Chamberlain looking to try and chip the ball over, but has been knocked on as Watsonian player looked to try and gather that ball. I think it was Lewis Berg who perhaps tried to salvage something from that, but it's going to be a put into the scrum in centre field, or relatively centre field. You would imagine that the Southern Knights will be looking to try and have a go from here.
Well, yeah, and look at just a couple of crappy kicks there from the Knights. That time Nathan Chamberlain they're not getting lots of ball in the area there, and I think you've got a chance there on the first phase just to keep the ball in hand. I think when Melrose have got through phases around that middle third, they've been very, very dangerous on this left edge, so trying to keep the ball in hand as much as possible. Same with Callum Grieve a little bit on that penalty advantage. I'd like to have seen them go through the phases a little bit, take the full advantage of that penalty advantage. You see that quite a lot in the game now, that teams within that first phase are kicking, looking for the money shot straight away, and you've got a free ball there to play it and exert that pressure. Give yourself 2 opportunities.
Everyone all right? Time back on, guys. Black scrum. Here's the mark.
Referee just had a little discussion with the Watsonians forwards and making his position very clear. It's always a very respectable conversation in rugby, I must say. The referees are always well respected.
Yeah.
And now Redpath, he'll get the chance to pop the ball into the scrum. Very name which is synonymous with the Greenyards, Redpath. The new breed now, trying to make a name for himself here. Passes the ball away to Chamberlain. Now Billy Wara, he bounces off the first man. Physical contact there from the outside centre. Just bouncing off his opposite man, Lewis Berg, who's not easy to put down. And now Chamberlain trying to hit Anderson flat on the ball, but is now in the clutches of Berg. Find a little gap, but is eventually wrapped up. And Watsonians finding it really difficult to break free from their own half. But they've managed now, and they have broken free. And they look to try and beat the last man, get the offload in, and that's great supporting play as they take play up towards the 22. Can Scott get the ball quick away from the breakdown? He's not able to because of some pressure on from Southern Knights.
Patrick Anderson there being very streetwise, was it?
Initial pop. Side entry and then off feet.
7.
Maybe.
Wallace Nelson guilty there. It's, just in the blink of an eye, you're seeing how difficult it is for Watsonians to break free from their own half, and all of a sudden they've now got a penalty to kick into the corner, and this is the danger of Watsonians.
Yeah, and look, the Knights' defence will stand up pretty well there. Unfortunately, Callum Grieve had a little bit of slip there and led to that line break, but good scrambling defence. Had to take a little bit streetwise decision to kill that ball at the breakdown there, because it looked ominous for Watsonians to go in for a second score, but they give themselves an opportunity to defend the line again, and we'll go back to that same cycle as we've seen before. Watsonians line out on the Knights 5 metre line.
Cal Davis, the hooker, the captain for Watsonians, finds his target in the line out, and this one's got a little bit go forward. But Davis is having to twist and turn his body position. He's trying to keep the ball alive. He does find the supporting player there, and it looks like Murray Scott is just snaked over for a score. The scrum half supporting his hooker and managing to get over the try line, and that's after a constant pressure from the Southern Knights. Watsonians break free from their own 22 and they get the score.
Yeah, and again, look, just they've been very clinical at their second visit to the Knights 22, and they've come away with a second try. So again, that maul looked pretty well set. Good defence by the Knights. Took another decision not to go up in the air, but you just sucked them in. The pressure that was taken to stem that pressure from Watsonians, but led to that short side being a little bit narrow, and a very well taken try there. And Jason Baggett has an opportunity now to extend that lead for Watsonians.
Yeah, Murray Scott did see the gap. Patrick Anderson trying to cover the space on his own and was bought the dummy, but because Watsonians did have the overload, the try scorer Scott offers up the chance for Baggett to add the extras. Just been held up in the wind. He's got a lot of height on it, but just not able to reach the goalpost, so it's going to remain Southern Knights 3, Watsonians 12, but Watsonians really only had 2 attacking opportunities and they've taken them both. Southern Knights maybe been guilty of losing leaving a few points on the field in this first half.
Yeah, look, it's just that exactly what we've been pretty consistent with through the comms, is that it's a difference about getting into that area and being able to convert that pressure into points. And the Knights had a huge opportunity here on penalty advantage to give themselves an opportunity with it. So the ebb and flow of the game can change on those moments.
Chamberlain with a deep kick downfield. It finds the big paw of Ian Moody. And the big towering number 8 has an arc and run into the heart of the field. Finds a more centre position, which I'm not sure Baggett will enjoy too much. I think you can see him issuing some instructions to keep going round the corner. And Watsonians doing well to protect the ball. Give Baggett more of a position to try and clear his lines, and it was charged down by Billy Wara. And now, fight in the air as Ian Sim looked to try and gather that loose ball, but it's come back on a Watsonian side. Scott, the scrum half, is passing out to Baggett. Baggett finds Seb Cecil, the vice captain. He's Nottingham's Young Player of the Year in 2020, but it's been charged down. And Nathan Chamberlain is going to get the ball down.
That's an interesting call there from it was a knock-on advantage. It felt like they had a pretty good advantage there, Watsonians. So the Knights players are
Guys, time off, okay? Where's the captain?
I think the referee might just want a word.
Can I explain myself now? I thought he was kicking without any pressure on him. I thought he was kicking without any pressure. He was kicking with a large amount of pressure. I called advantage over a fraction too early, and I got it wrong, so I've called it back. Apology. I've made my decision. We're going to scrum here Watson's ball. I'm sorry if you feel hard done by. I am. But this is the decision, okay? This is the decision.
I think you could say sorry a few times. It's a difficult one to swallow for the Southern Knights, because I think Nathan Chamberlain thought he was underneath the sticks for a score, and the referee had already made the call that the scrum's going to be awarded to Watsonians.
Yeah, I think he had just actually verbally said to the players, penalty, advantage over, as the kick was going in, expecting the kick to be the advantage over, but as it was intercepted, then he feels there was no advantage from that, so he stuck to that original decision. We come back to the scrum for Watsonians.
For Watsonians, it would have been a really good time to score for the Southern Knights, but it still remains Southern Knights 3, Watsonians 12 in this FOSROC Super 6 sprint series. Scrum splintering slightly, but does eventually. The ball finds its way to Berg, who's again tasked with setting up that platform. And Van Niekerk just throws that big shoulder in. Scott putting a high ball up to try and test Sim, and he's done well, but he's been clattered when he's been brought back down to earth. And Redpath notices that the winger might be up. There's some space in behind. Baggett does well to sweep up, but the referee noticing there was a high challenge there. There's going to be a penalty to Southern Knights, but that was well fielded by Ian Sim.
It was great take under a lot of pressure. That's been kind of characteristic of that Watsonians exits. We've said they've had to do a lot of it. The territory's been won by the Knights, but the scoreboard's not reflecting that at the moment. And the Watsonians kicking and kick chases, it's been very, very good. So excellent take there by Ian Sim, and
I've got 4.
That infringement now gives the Knights another opportunity to go deep into Watsonians 22.
But I don't really come, so
Southern Knights perhaps been guilty of leaving a few chances. How much of an impact do you think losing as many players as they have this season out? You think that is the reason?
Yeah, look, it'll be tough. You've got a short period of time, it's the boys together, and then you're straight into games, and it is a new look. But there is a lot of consistency through that Knights squad of last year. A lot of guys that played a lot of minutes, especially up front in that pack. A couple of new faces, but there is consistency as well, and it shouldn't take them too long to find that rhythm again.
Pick and go through the middle from that maul.
You're fine too.
The ball bubbled out to Anderson, and he'd set up the platform, and the Southern Knights come again through Shields. Very experienced front row. And now Redpath trying to snipe round the sides, trying and finding that gap.
3 not rolling, guys.
And now it's bobbled out, and the referee
3. You've prevented the arrival.
noticing that Gregor Skugel was guilty. Now Chamberlain looking to go quickly. He's going to go on his own, and he squeezes in between the Watsonians defenders, and the fly half does get his try. He was pulled back earlier on when he thought he was in for a score, but on this occasion he was smart to it, took the quick penalty, found the gap and went over, and Southern Knights do get their try.
Excellent, we've got a game in our hands now, and Knights will feel far better with that. That is a tough weekend last weekend. Played a lot better this weekend, and just to get that first try and to get themselves back in the game will give them an enormous bit of encouragement.
Especially at this stage in the game, that 5, perhaps 7 point swing, to get that just before half time, it'll be great for the confidence of the Southern Knights, and it's perhaps a little bit of a body blow for the Watsonian side.
Yeah, and look, it's the first time the Knights have been able to get in there and go through phases. I thought that when you get into that area, really the 9s take over, and Murray Redpath marshalled that really well. Just nice short passing game, not putting the ball in the air too long, allowing his big forwards to give him gain line, and it opened up a nice little opportunity for him to have a snipe, and excellent thinking there by Nathan Chamberlain on the penalty advantage, showing his experience just to tap before that Watsonians defence was set and get in for a try.
And Chamberlain adds to his try with a conversion. So it's currently Nathan Chamberlain 10, Watsonians 12, because all the points for the Knights have came through either the boot or the try from Chamberlain. And it's a very good time to score for the Southern Knights. A couple of minutes before half time. Baggett gets play back underway with a searching kick towards that 22, which you can see the difficulties that the players have with the wind and also the sun, which is just pointing straight into the eyes of the Southern Knights players, and Murray Redpath just couldn't judge the flight of the ball there, and compounding a little bit of, it's not what you want to do after you score points. It's to compound it and to welcome pressure back on.
Yeah, look, it's a game within a game, isn't it? Restart, it's such an important part, almost like that third set piece, and the first 2 opportunities Watsonians go long, and that's probably shaped the Knights' backfield a bit. Third opportunity to go short and find a bit of space into that sun.
We're going to get the penalty.
Centre field scrum.
Stay on 9.
Just before half time. Scott just loitering in behind, waiting for the call from Moody. Play off the base from Rory Knott, and it's been well stripped there as well. As Borthwick finds Sim just dances back in field. Has he got the pace? He's got the ball back inside, but Redpath just couldn't gather the ball and couldn't take advantage of that break there from Ian Sim after great work from Harry Borthwick at the breakdown. And we do, as you said, John, we've got a game on our hands at half time. Southern Knights 10, Watsonians 12, and the break from Ian Sim just not able to find his man. I'm sure Dalton Redpath wouldn't have looked forward to trying to stride in from halfway, but it was certainly a good break from Southern Knights deep inside their own half. But half time, Southern Knights 10, Watsonians 12.
Yeah, really good game, really good first half, to be honest. And the Knights will look at these opportunities that they've had, a couple of these little sloppy handling errors just maybe been the difference between them being ahead at the break.
Gives us a little chance to catch our breath and see how we've arrived at the position that we're in. It was an opening score, well, it was an opening penalty from Nathan Chamberlain, which got things underway. Southern Knights had a lot of pressure in the initial stages, and they managed to get the opening points, but then Ryan Daly popped up with a well-worked try and slick hands in the Watsonians backline as he dived over and got the try. It was very good work from Baggett, who managed just to find his man in a close tight space there, John.
Yeah, and we said that a couple of times in the lead up to that, him and his relationship with Lewis Berg had put him through a space earlier, and have that experience in there. He's unlocking key moments for Watsonians.
Baggett did add the extras, and it allowed Cal Davis a chance to try and go it alone and go for the line and add to his try from last week, but on this occasion he found his scrum half, Murray Scott, who threw the dummy and managed to go over and get a try on his own. And this was only Watsonians' second opportunity at really having a go for the line.
It was, yeah, and look at that maul putting Melrose Knights under a lot of pressure there, and probably 7th or 8th forward joining the maul there in a defensive situation. It left a lot of space there for young Murray Redpath on that short side, and Watsonians exploited that.
Nathan Chamberlain, just before the half time, after getting a try chalked off as the referee perhaps was a bit premature with his call, he found there was a little gap in the Watsonians defence, threw the dummy and just threw himself in between it to get the score. He also added to that as well, and that's how we've arrived at 10 points to 12. But you would say on the balance of play, you would say the Southern Knights will probably be slightly disappointed with the scoreline.
Yeah, they're creating line breaks, aren't they? They're winning the territory battle. Watsonians only slightly ahead, and the difference being is just their ability to be clinical. When they are getting limited opportunities down in that opposition 22, they're converting.
Well, it does set up for a very interesting second half, and the Suer6, it's a great platform to develop young players and prepare them for a long career in rugby. A player who's at the start of that journey is Murray Redpath, and although his dad is a well-known face around these parts, he's trying to make a name for himself at the Greenyards in the FOSROC Suer6 Sprint Series. And this week we caught up with a 19-year-old scrum half to see how he was enjoying life at the Greenyards.
A lot of the lads who I did do 20s with, they played last year in the Suer6 season. They've obviously playing a lot this year as well, and they just said it is a good standard, and it just gets you ready for playing more and more. And it's obviously difficult games every week, which is what you need and what you need to get better and progress. So it's just trying to challenge myself and just play as much as I can, really. So I did the 20s this year, the Six Nations that we had. And then obviously Rob Christie's one of the coaches at the 20s, and he kind of just spoke about it to me, saying trying to get some extra game time really before any summer stuff that happens with the 20s or whatever's going to happen. And then he got in touch with me saying Bruce obviously wants to chat to you, just get you up and see what you like, and just trying to get a bit of game time really. So I got a message from Bruce, a phone call, sorry, and just spoke about it to him. Obviously try and get it around all the work and stuff, but it's worked pretty well. I've come out to my third week now, so it's going well. I think the men's, because it's men's rugby, it's a bit, especially for me, I'm not the biggest lad, just kind of getting into that environment, just knowing that I've got to think about my size and play to my strengths and avoid my weaknesses. And then obviously just training's intense, matches are intense, things like that. It is a step up from what I've done so far. Playing with boys like Cammy and Chamber and stuff are outside me. Obviously, they're good players playing at Edinburgh, training at Edinburgh every day. So setting standards, they set a standard. I've got to meet that. Play with as a 9 especially, the service has got to be good, so it challenges my passing, kicking, things like that. It's challenged by all the other, me and the other 9s who go against each other to try and improve ourselves, but also just get ahead of each other. And yeah, it just improves the skills really of what I need to get better, and also just physically, just like getting used to that sort of stuff, because it's obviously it's a big step up. And got a really young team at the moment, but I think that's quite good. Like, we've got a lot of like older lads who are more experienced and have like the level heads compared to us, but I think it's good to have a good mix between us. And yeah, it's a good challenge for us because nothing's expected of the younger lads too much really, so it's good to try and prove it ourselves and prove it to everyone else really. Obviously my dad, his side, him and his brothers played here when they were younger. They played it all their life really. And yeah, that was, I don't know how many years ago that was now, quite a few years ago, but they grew up here, played here. I don't think they played anywhere else really. It's a big thing to come here for them and for the family, but yeah, I haven't really been up here much, so over the last couple of weeks I've kind of experienced it properly. It's been really good. It's been nice. Everyone's been really nice to me, really welcoming, so it's been good. So I'm quite good, to be fair, because my dad's he's got quite a strong Borders accent, so I've got better and better over the years. When I was younger, it was tough to understand some of the accents up here, but I've definitely got better. And then some of the 20s lads are pretty strong accents as well, so I've got used to it. And there's a couple of words which I'll miss out, but I can string the sentences together better off now. More just trying to focus on ourselves. Like, we can only control what we do. So, and I think the last couple of games we've shot ourselves in the foot a couple of times, especially in like important moments of the game, just as a whole 15. So, Watsonians will bring what they have and their strengths, but we've just got to focus on ourselves, getting everything right, getting the basics, getting all the little everything just kind of tweaked and just sorted out just for the game, so we can come into it 100% and ready to give them a good game.
So that was Murray Redpath trying to make a name for himself here at the Greenyards in the shadows of the Eildon Hills, and this is it's such a successful enterprise here at the Greenyards. There's been a lot of players that have came through the system and went on to full international honours, Brian Redpath being one, but you know, it's such a good environment to try and flourish and move on to other things.
It is, and it's a lovely story to see that connection. Young Murray want to follow in the footsteps of his dad, who was a Melrose legend, a local lad that stayed about a stone's throw away from where we're sitting now, and had a very, very successful club and international career with Scotland, a Scotland captain, and through his various rugby travels, I think Murray was born over in France. He grew up in the English system, and it's great that he's actually identified those Scottish roots. He's playing Scotland under-20s now the last 2 years, and he wants to come and he wants to go that route fully, and for him it must be a special moment coming to play first competitive game for the Knights here, and you know, in that 9 jersey on the Greenyards. It'll be a great occasion for him and his family. Yeah,
it's a great story and a great connection. The thread of the Redpaths here at the Greenyards, as you can see, it's slightly blustery conditions, and there's going to be the Southern Knights to come back onto the field first, led on by their captain Russell Anderson. And what will he be telling his team at half time? What will be the instructions from the hooker to his teammates?
Look, I think that first half will have settled their nerves a little bit. I think there'll be a lot of doubt maybe after last weekend, that first weekend, and the defeat that they took to the hands of Heriots. But I think they'll take a lot of confidence from that. As I said, they've not been together too long. They've had lots of opportunities. They're only 2 points behind in the scoreboard. There'll be no panic, and this next 20 minutes is going to be key for both teams.
Rudy Brown is going to be a half-time replacement. I think it looks like he's replaced Dalton Redpath for the Southern Knights. You can see the big towering number 19. A youngster, affiliated with Edinburgh as well, but he's an impressive player.
I've got you.
He is, played with his dad back in the day, a good Gala-man that they've now stayed in Melrose, and really was brought all the way through the Melrose Minis ranks, been an exceptional talent all the way through. The ability to play in the back row and centres as a youngster. I've watched him many times, and been great to see his career training full-time with Edinburgh. A real talent one to watch, and this is a great platform for lads of that age now that they can come and play. There'll be a managed minutes. He's getting the second half here, and I'm sure he'll have a big part to play in this second half.
Watsonians now filtering out of the changing rooms sporadically, but they're getting there.
No, it's all really positive.
Just trying to keep an eye on to see if they've made any changes as they come onto the field. So far, it looks like they're going to start this half. They do have a replacement there. Charlie Shield looks like he's on.
And there's another Melrose connection there,
Just
young
about to say.
Redpath and Shield together, 2 9s. Excellent, Graham Shield, the dad, who's the head coach the Boroughmere Bears. Proud moment for seeing his son playing at the Greenyards.
Baggett gets play back underway here at the Greenyards. It is Southern Knights 10, Watsonians 12 in the FOSROC Super 6 sprint.
Yeah, you're inside.
The Southern Knights want to start their second half building on from where they left off in the first with that try from Chamberlain. And now Redpath kicking downfield. Doesn't find too much in the way of territory, but he does give them a bit of respite, and Watsonians through Shield, especially a player you know very well as well from your time in Scotland age grade, he'll be looking to make an impact early on.
He will, and he's been really impressive. It's great by Edinburgh Rugby, Glasgow as well, that they're allowing not just the academy players but the fringe players or players that are not selected in the 23 to come and really light up the Super 6 sprint series.
Campbell Wilson getting his first carry of the second half. Now Carl Davis. Shield finds Berg. Berg's got Baggett, who's playing with a little bit more purpose in this second half. Watsonians look like they're coming out with a little bit more intent, looking to take the game to the Southern Knights. They're under a lot of pressure in the first half. Now Berg, they've got that overlap. He looks to try and go it alone. The centre partner as well, Angus Guthrie, was just squeezing through the same gap, the latter of which is now having to act as an auxiliary scrum half. He finds ball. The ball does come back, and Shield looking to go down the blind side. Guthrie, he's found Kotzer. He passes back in field, and the Southern Knights players swarm around as Watsonians look to try and keep the ball in play, which they do. Daly getting the ball away now. Shield back at scrum half. He finds a gap. He looks to try and go through it, but it's been closed quickly by Brace.
First man plays the ball and rips back.
The tempo and the sting of this attack comes out now, and the heavies arrive to try and truck the ball closer towards the Southern Knights line. Cal Davis offering his services yet again. Such an industrious hooker, gets about the park really well.
Here we go,
But the defensive effort here for the Southern Knights holds firm, and they win the penalty, and they'll be boiled by the fact that they were able to thwart that Watsonians attack.
Some excellent attack by Watsonians, matched by Southern Knights defence, and they made some good, pretty mature decisions there. Further out, they weren't really competing at the breakdown. They were trying to get numbers in the line, keeping their line nice and wide. And the excellent decision there to go over the ball as they got near the trial line, and they came away with a good decision.
Time back on, guys. Here we go.
You do say that a mature decision. And mature decisions there. The average age of the Southern Knights team is 23, and you have said it's a young man's game, but it's you've got to learn on the job in Super 6, and you've got to make these mature decisions in the heat of the battle.
You have, and that's where guys like Grant Shields and Russell Anderson, Ian Moody for Watsonians are great to have around these youngsters as well. They'll tip the scales a little bit. They're probably bringing that average up a little bit, but the experience, the peer-to-peer coaching that they'll do on the field, through game management, and just being able to speak to these players as well does help. It's a good blend.
No, it was a fair contest.
Grant Shields and Ian Moody on opposition teams this afternoon, but they know each other well. Years ago, about half their life ago, playing representative rugby for the likes of Borders under 16s. Went on to bigger and better things. But from that maul, it's going to be Ian Moody's side who get the ball back.
Yeah, it was a maul.
As again, defensive work.
There's always a maul.
And the maul allows Watsonians to get an attacking platform from the scrum.
Yeah, a really good bit of maul defence there by Watsonians. You'll see there the jump there on Rudy Brown. Maybe the lifters just lost a bit of shape there as they brought him to the floor there, and that allowed Van Niekerk and Seb Cecil to get into these seams and get through, and a really good bit of harrying and good technicality there. When that maul goes to the floor, the Watsonian players don't need to roll away because it's been a maul and gone to the floor. So really good bit of defending, and they're now awarded by with the scrum.
Van Niekerk's almost like another back row, isn't he? He's not a towering second row. He's a bit of a powerhouse in the Boiler House.
He is, yeah. He's been a mainstay for Watsonians over the last couple of seasons. He's been training with Edinburgh, I believe, and was added to their European squad as part of that. So he's had good experience and loves the physical part of the game.
Shield breaks down the blind side, finds Moody, and the scrum and the attacking opportunity there. Isn't grasped first time, but Watsonians get the ball through to Skugel. And bundles his way over the 22. And Shield having to work hard, does find his runner, but it's been knocked on. You've seen that on a couple of occasions when they're trying to pass very close to the defensive line. The attacker on a couple of occasions has knocked the ball on, and the attacking opportunity's been gone.
Yeah, and that's probably the kind of difference in the game. I think Charlie Shields added a real lot of tempo into that Watsonians attack, and an excellent line. And generally at the club level, you're looking at passes getting pulled back, and you've got a little bit more time on the ball. But the level as it goes up, it's about the timing onto that pass, flat onto the game line, in the face of defenders, and that's about. We've seen a couple of handling errors forced through that pressure. It's almost hit or bust. You catch a ball there, you're generally line breaking, and from that far out possibly scoring as well.
Absolutely, yeah, you shouldn't be doing that.
That's the thing about these, the level that we're at now. The defence is so it's so difficult to find the gaps in the defence and unlock it, because they're so well structured, so well organised, and so well drilled.
Yeah, and they're all open, for, as you said, for a split second now with that organisation. So the ball's got to be played on top of them, right on flat on the gain line. And there's been 3 or 4 excellent passes. We've seen one from Nathan Chamberlain earlier that went to floor, but Charlie Shield, excellent pass there, and these balls have got to be taken, and you're going to be breaking lines, and you've got to be getting into really good positions from it.
Yeah, scrum. Knock on.
Daniel Sudden is getting a bit of attention from the medical team, hence the little break in play. Looks like he's perhaps sustained a shoulder injury.
Sure.
He seems to be looking to try and shake it off and get on with things.
Okay.
As he just his way back towards where the scrum is going to be, and that'll test the shoulder.
Well, yeah, he's been very active, as we said, all the way through it, and just as a reward for having a sore shoulder, you get to bind up and scrum just to test it out.
It'll be the ultimate tester for the big second row.
Let's go, Michael!
Crouch!
Michael!
Bind! Set!
Another solid scrum there.
That's gone around and
almost cancelling each other out, but the referee just deeming it as popped up, and really neither team's got the upper hand in the scrum.
No, and it's been good. It's like we've come here to watch rugby on a great pitch, and both teams, as we said, open-minded to play in a very expansive game of rugby, and neither team have looked to push the envelope too hard and go for penalties. It's been pretty about shape and consistency and steady platforms to play off. So let's hope the second half continues and we don't start to see some messy scrums.
Well, at some stage start to see some front row replacements. Watsonians got Dan Gamble on the bench. Southern Knights Corey Bowker, who was a try scorer in their defeat against Heriots last week. Also Bruce Riddle, who's an emergency front row cover from Selkirk. So they've certainly got players that they can bring off the bench to try and gain this upper hand in the scrum. Redpath pass it, rolling into another relatively solid scrum.
Two, stand up.
I think the Southern Knights just walking that one towards the penalty decision from the referee. I think they feel that they've got the upper hand now.
Yeah, Grant Shields is like, that's a maturity. We talked about that experience. He's sat and he's not tried to be greedy with things early doors. He's just painted very good pictures, and now he's starting to get some real pressure putting through that left-hand side of the Knights scrum. And we talk about games within the games, and look, it's the first penalty decision that's going against Watsonians, so Melrose will be looking to try and go for the jugular in that area now.
Grant Shields, from a friend's account, they were hitting out against Hoyk before they were playing the Border League final, and also before Southern Knights started their campaign. And the coaching that Grant Shields gave to a few of their props, they were astounded by how open he was and how he was helping with their development. The props Rudy McLeod and Tom Hope were getting a lot of advice, and that is the experience that you want to start seeing filtering down in the semi-pro and also the club game. But it is Brown from the line out. It's not went to plan, but it's came back into a Southern Knights hand. Now Chamberlain finds Knott over the halfway line. Now Redpath looks to go against the grain, and Chamberlain thought he found the gap, but he has found one there with Clark, who's offload to Patrick Anderson. And that's the tight balls on the gain line that John Dale was alluding to only a few minutes ago. The kick from Grieve not going to plan there, and it's been charged down. Now the loose ball. He's managed to tidy up his own kick, because that was dangerous for the Southern Knights.
Use 9.
Anderson looking to offload, but he's just offloaded it straight into Carl Davis's hands. And now Watsonians get the chance to try and strike.
He's still got advantage from the
Shield watching on. Baggett does put boot to ball.
No advantage, guys, come back from the
It's been charged down and the advantage not taken. But that was a very ambitious pass for Anderson to try and pass off the deck.
It was generally just about being sensible in your own half. We want to see that free-flowing game, the offloads. You've seen them in the advanced parts of the Knights attack here when they were in Watsonians territory. Nathan Chamberlain dropping that little ball on his hip. These little offloads are fine, but when you're exiting and you're already under a bit of pressure from that charge down kick, you just want to be nice and clean there, minimise the amount of opportunities you're giving the opposition, and clear your lines, whether that be through the running game or the kicking game.
Okay, thank you.
Come on, Carl. Yeah, I'm going inside.
Staying down red. No push before the ball black.
Another scrum. It's going to be a put in
Hold the weight.
for Shield. The referee just letting the Southern Knights pack know that he's perhaps aware that they had the upper hand in the last scrum. It's another solid scrum there from both sides. And it's cleanly came out into the hands of Berg.
7 black offside, penalty advantage. Pillar offside.
And now Watsonians have another free ball to play with. Dancing back in field. All mix up there. The two Watsonians players, but they've got a ball to play with. Baggett just passing that ball right in front of Carl Davis. And Borthwick coming out and clattering his ex-teammate. And not really taking a chance there, Watsonians, with the advantage from the offside for Wallace Nelson.
No, as I said before, when you know you've got that penalty advantage, it's going to last a long period of time. So you're as well to do what they did there, try and get through the phases, try and see if you can get another outcome within that advantage, rather than just taking it too early. We see too often that you're one or no phases, and it's a nothing or a speculative kick to try and get an outcome. I'd much rather see teams playing with that advantage and essentially giving themselves two opportunity to get an outcome.
Yeah, because it is something that you do see a lot. You see a lot of teams, as soon as they get the advantage, they throw that big loopy ball across, or they do kick, cross-field kick to try and take it. We've seen it last night in the game. The Heriots were actually able to take advantage from the free ball, cross-field kick. Jack Blaine scored in the corner, and you know there you'll prefer a more pragmatic approach to try and see if you can manipulate a little bit more.
Yeah, and you can always influence referees as well. Look, they've been giving away a penalty, unpenalty advantage. By going through phases, you could force a second or a third penalty within that period of phase, and you can end up to, you know, the referee thinking different around penalties and yellow cards, etc. So you've got to keep applying that pressure. See it too often, 9s and 10s, and maybe watch a bit too much of the telly, and they're kicking that ball away straight away. It's a real bugbear of mine.
We need to just get it cleaned up.
If you've not guessed.
Don't name names.
Come on, guys. Post goal.
Watsonians opting to try and get 3 points from this to the boot of Baggett from that penalty. In a favourable position for the right-footed fly half. And he is successful. I don't think it was ever in doubt, really. Straight in front of the sticks, and he gets the first points of the second half. Southern Knights 10, Watsonians 15.
Yeah, we talked about this third period being a key part of the game after half times, when the coaches have had a chance to chat to both teams, and you know, for 11-12 minutes now, all of the rugby's been played in the Southern Knights half, and you know, Watsonians extend that lead.
Ian Moody shielding his eyes from the sun. It brings flashbacks to under-16s when we were playing Glasgow under-16s, and he actually turned the other way because he was blinded, but does well on that occasion. Baggett finding a little bit of space in behind Patrick Anderson, and that's a great clearance kick. Good awareness from the fly half to turn his winger, and that's good exit play from Watsonians.
It was, yeah, I've seen there Ian Moody take the ball very well. One further ruck in their kick and transferring the pressure now up to the Melrose Southern Knights 10-metre line.
That's fine. Just get him on.
Straight
I think Ian Moody and Baggett, I think particularly Moody, I think he is a, you know, he's 33, 34-year-old. He's a great acquisition for Watsonians because he's got a lot of experience. He's played Berwick, Kelso, Melrose, Southern Knights, representative honours for his country as well. But he's been, you know, he brings that to that pack. It's a relatively young pack, but he comes with a lot of experience.
He does, yeah. And look at it's Watsonians gain there. I think
he's the hooker and the captain, so we can't really have a line
between the lines. He wanted to continue to keep playing, and they've given him an opportunity to play. He's somebody that looks after himself very well off the field in terms of his physical ability, and we've seen him how influential he is in the line out to be one area, but just his composure on restart receives, just, you know, whether it be off the back of that scrum, whatever, he's a key player for any team at this level, and it's a real game to have him, and as you mentioned, Jason Baggett as well at 10, two key positions for Watsonians.
I'll catch it and run the length. Watch me.
I do mock him about the time he did shield his eyes from the sun, but I think it says the fact that he's down there running about looking as trim as he ever probably is, and I'm sitting up here. So he's certainly had a very, very good career, Ian Moody.
He's a good player. I was very impressed with him. I remember when he moved from Berwick to Kelso, and I was coaching here at Melrose, and we were very keen to look at him, and we had a few chats a number of years, and he ended up moving up to Edinburgh and to Birmingham. We got him eventually here, and he's been a great player. Able to win leagues and cups, and
be hoping to try and bring some of that success to Watsonians. And it's an accurate line out as the replacement hooker, Fraser Rennick, with his first chance to lob the ball into the line out. He's just packing down behind that maul, which is laterally moving across the park, and now it's splintered slightly. And Fraser Rennick making an instant impact in this game with a great carry deep inside the Watsonians half. Then Afshar as well, the replacement scrum half. Onto the park, looks for the break, tries to find Rennick, but just getting wrapped up there. Ball slowing down slightly as Sudden finds Knott.
Advantage, knock on.
And then carelessly kicking the ball back, not killing the game there.
Knock on, guys.
And Watsonians now have possession.
Advantage over, guys.
Baggett has spotted some more space downfield. And Patrick Anderson having to scamper back to collect the ball. Now in the hands of Kieran Clark, the fullback.
Don't advance, stop.
It's a good connection with the ball, but it's been caught downfield and it's been allowed to bounce. But the captain, Cal Davis, just throws his body on it to secure the ball. Baggett turning out of contact, but the loose ball has been knocked on again, and perhaps in the second half, 50 minutes in, it has been relatively scrappy from both sides.
It has, yeah, and look at just another kind of variation in tactics there as well. We've seen Watsonians in a lot of their exits, especially their deeper exits, looking for touch a lot, which does present the opposition with attacking lineouts in your half, which is a huge source of tries in possession for opposition. You've seen on that occasion there Kieran Clark going longer and keeping the ball in, backing his defence with that kick, chasing the kick pressure, and it's forced an error. And it's something you see a lot more in professional rugby, especially, is that teams will opt to try and keep the ball in a lot more nowadays and not opt to kick out. But we know that lineouts can be an excellent source of tries for teams. So.
Yeah, especially with the 50-22, a lot of teams are looking to just pin it in between the two players that are covering the backfield, and it maybe wasn't the execution there from Clark, but it was a good kick chase, put a little bit of pressure on. Watsonians let it bounce, and a bad kick can turn into a good kick quite quickly.
Yeah, definitely, and I think there just the length was an important part of that. He let his retreating players get back on side and reconnect on that kick chase.
Time back on, black scrum.
It's a key part of the game now. We're in the 55-minute part. Watsonians with that 5-point lead. It's like an arm wrestle. Who's going to blink first here?
Please, okay? Thank you.
Let's go.
It is an evenly poised game. It'll be interesting to see what impact the substitutions can make, especially the man with his hands on the ball just now, Ben Afshar.
Set, hold the push.
Still recently returning from a hamstring injury. He's a very highly regarded young scrum half, ex-Merchiston, and he's got his hands on the ball now and finds a bit of space downfield. And Coates are having to get back to try and clear his lines under a bit of pressure from Afshar. Again, putting the full-back under pressure with the clearance kick, and that's the exact example of an attacking kick. You put a bit of pressure on it and it can work in your favour.
No, it's excellent bit of pressure there, especially from a midfield scrum, and you'll see, unfortunately, the kind of dominance that Grant Shields is getting on that left-hand side of the scrum didn't really suit where the Knights wanted that scrum to be. We were probably wanting it a little bit more up on that right-hand side, but an excellent kick, and now we've got an opportunity to launch from a line out on the edge of the Watsonians 22.
Harry Fisher is going to replace Campbell Wilson. Harry Fisher started the game against Stirling County last week. He's going into the game off the bench as the Knights hit Borthwick at the front of the line out. So now Afshar. Chamberlain trying to get some width on the game. He finds Billy Vara, who's been in this game in waves and fits. And now it's the Knights' chance to enjoy a spell of possession. Fraser Rennick getting round the corner, and again Cal Davis over that ball. He is a very, very difficult man to move when he gets in that position. Last week he was all over the ball at any opportunity for the Jackal, and you can see there he gets himself in such a low position that he's very difficult to shift.
He could, yeah, a very good reader of the game, and he positioned himself around two breakdowns there, and as again just patience and the maturity that he showed to be in the right place at the right time, and he demonstrated very well to the referee that he was definitely on the ball and pulling the ball.
I was very surprised to hear that he started playing rugby at the age of 16. I thought he'd perhaps been playing for his, since youth, but he said he started playing when he was 16, moved to hooker when he was 19 years old. I played with Haddington and enjoyed a spell over in New Zealand as well. But he's such a highly skilled player, and especially hooker. It's such a difficult position just to be thrown into.
It is, yeah. And look, there's a huge start in rugby at the moment. The amount of hookers that play the game that actually started off as hookers as youngsters. A lot of them, as you say in there, are converted back row players. So the rugby ability to have that jackal threat, the ball carry ability, the ability to be defending in big spaces. It's a really key position, hooker now, and you see the throwing and all the specialised parts of the skills come later.
Cal Davis offering himself up for a carry there. As Watsonians look to try and make something from this maul. The loose ball over that far side does eventually come back to a Watsonian's hand. Now Baggett to Berg. Berg has just thrown it straight into the hands of Billy Vara, and he's got open prairie to run into now. He's going to go underneath the sticks and get the ball down, and that is an absolute gift from Watsonians.
It is at all, and that's been a great matchup all afternoon, hasn't it? There's been sparks flying there between Wara and Berg, and Berg looked up there and you could see straight away from the minute he left his hands he'd seen, and a good interception, good read defensively, and he's going to put Southern Knights in front, hopefully, with this kick for the first time in a long time.
A penalty like that. It
was a great read there from Billy Vara. I just said previously that he's been in the game in waves and fits, but he's certainly burst into this game now. The ball carried in one hand, as cool as you like, checking over his shoulder as he goes in between the sticks to dot the ball down. And this could be a chance for the Knights to edge in front with the kick from Chamberlain. And he's successful with that attempt. Southern Knights 17, Watsonians 15 on the hour mark.
Lewis Berg will be seeing big Billy Warren in his sleep tonight. He said that earlier introduction they had when he sat him down with a carry earlier in the first half, and now he's just got the end of his pass to put Southern Knights ahead for that try.
Yeah,
it's one of those. That's what you want to see. You want to see these battles, and we had a great battle in the midfield in yesterday's game. Kind of the experience against youth, as the bouncing ball in the 22 does go into the hands of Ian Sim. And certainly the battle between Vara and Berg here is hotting up. Southern Knights look to try and escape their 22. It's back into the hands of the try scorer Billy Vara, and he tries a cute little grubber kick. Fortunately for him, Paddy Anderson was pretty hot on it. Make sure he could put a bit of pressure on the Watsonians player retrieving the ball. Now Shield. He finds ball.
Penalty advantage, high shot.
Untidy looking tackle there by Sutton. So I think Watsonians have penalty advantage here.
Baggett's got some space there, but it is Big Sutton who's got to filter back into position. He's certainly looking leggy, Sutton. He's putting a power of work so far, but he perhaps looks like he's maybe put a little bit too much into this game. He's looking hands on his head just now, the big second row. He's certainly gasping for air.
He was just stepped a little bit there, one-on-one. He lost his feet a little bit and got very army on his tackles. Very lucky that he didn't go a little bit higher and catch a Watsonians player around above that shoulder that we've seen have a real imprint in games recently with yellows, red cards. It's a real part of the area, a real focus for the officials now to try and make our game safer.
So just as the Southern Knights take the lead, their ex-playmaker has a chance to snatch it back into the hands of Watsonians from a penalty. There's a good connection with that, but it is just drifted wide of the sticks. So it is the Southern Knights who still retain that lead, and that's almost a banker for Baggett, but just skewing it to the right-hand side of the posts.
Yeah, you'll see that, the Knights getting themselves in front for the first time in a long time in this game, and then, just again, probably not as clean on their exits. They looked for the space, and that was fine, but the speculative little kicks around your 22 and things like that ends up that you're losing the territory and you're giving away penalties as well. So it gave Watsonians almost an easy chance to get back ahead there. So.
The 22 exit is gathered by Ryan Daly, the opening try scorer in this fixture. Shield now to Baggett. And Coates are now. Watsonians get the ball through the hands now. It is Loman McPherson who's scampering towards the 22, but he's been scythed down. Now Baggett passing to Moody. Moody steps, he looks to try and find the gap. Offloads there to Sean Gunn, another ex-Southern Knight. Now Baggett passing flat to Cal Davis, and now it is opened up for the hooker. Is he able to get closer to the line? He's just been dragged down by Ian Sim. The Southern Knights players try and scramble their defence.
Penalty advantage, tack off the ball.
Watsonians knocking on the door, getting closer and closer towards that line, and it looks like they've snuck over. The referee, Ian Kenny, raises his hand to signal that there has been a score. The pats in the head are going to Cal Davis. I wonder if he is the player to get the ball over the line.
Yeah, the big players really stood up there in that phase. Cal Davis, Ian Moody had a really good line to give them that line breaking position. Just seeing who's going over here.
I think it was Cal Davis. You can just see in there, just picking from the base of that ruck and trying to pump the legs, and he manages to stretch over the line just as Ian Kenny got there to see that the captain had got the score. So Watsonians do sneak ahead. Now for Baggett to try and add the 2 points. And that's curling round, but it does go between the uprights. Southern Knights 17, Watsonians 22, and you still can't really pick a winner.
No, and they're back into that position. The lead was very short period of time, but key part of the game now, isn't it? Last 10-12 minutes of the game. You know, it's about game management, getting the ball into the right areas and taking your chances when they're on.
Corey Bowker is now onto the field, as is Alan Ferry for the Southern Knights. As Watsonians look to try and execute a more crisp exit than what their counterparts can offer. It's at the hands of Baggett. He's looking to just try and sneak as much room over on that far side as possible. And he finds touch, and that's a good touch there as well.
They have again, and look, just keeping them at arm's length. It's just no phases, sensible kick there, back up to the 40-metre mark, and they'll be able to get reorganised from the line out and hopefully look to try and apply for a better defensive set.
Again, Grant Shields just offering him some advice to Fraser Rennick before he throws this ball in. Let's find his target, and now Rooney Knott is just broken through from loose play. Finally, the Southern Knights are able to unlock this Watsonians defence. Now Chamberlain passes to Grieve. Grieve just a little tip on to Anderson. Just bounces off the Watsonians tackler there, Lewis Berg. Scooped off his toes by Brown. The support arrives for the Southern Knights, and Chamberlain to Sudden. Still powering on the big second row. And now Chamberlain looking to try and chip over the top and go, but the advantage is going to come back for the Southern Knights. And certainly it was on there out wide to score a try.
It was really not there. One excellent carry off that line out. Just being direct now, and that's probably what this last period of the games requires. Really Nott's been an excellent player for both Melrose and the Southern Knights over a number of years, and not seen that much of him today, but he's got himself excellent line break there and given him his opportunity to go for the post here.
A bit of a pinball of a back row. He likes to chuck himself into contact and bounces off at players and then just targets the next one. He's a really, really industrious back row.
He is, and he's changed body shapes over the number of years that I've known him. And
so far,
and unorthodoxly he carries it very well. And actually, he's been outstanding. His ball carry ability, his ability to get over the ball at times, and do things that other players don't. But he's been a great player over a number of years, and a fantastic kid as well to work with.
Chamberlain to try and narrow the gap. And a good connection there. So it's a 2-point game. The Southern Knights 20, Watsonians 22.
We've got 12 and a half minutes.
I think it perhaps signals how tight this game is going to be, the fact that they did go for the 3 points. We've still got 12 minutes left in this game. So certainly signaling that this is going to be a really tight battle. Harry Borthwick just plucking the ball out of the sky. Sudden put himself into contact as well.
Use 9.
Afshar with an excellent box kick to try and relieve the pressure and make some good territory up towards that 10-metre line from an acute angle, and that was a little bit better from the Southern Knights.
It was a little bit more pragmatic, not looking to go from deep there, just knowing that this is a key part of the game, and taking the ruck, set that up very well, and a good kick. It's put them up to 40 metres.
Now Watsonians' chance with the ball in hand, and it doesn't last long because it's into the hands of Ferry over the halfway line. Afshar finds Sudden to Chamberlain, and they're screaming for the ball out wide. And Biliwara just bounces back in field, but he's been scythed down by Cecil.
Guys, not gone on the ground.
And an unforced error there at the breakdown from the Southern Knights coughs up possession. But you can see Biliwara starting to grow into this game. We've not seen a lot of the wingers over the last wee while, but if he can get into the game, the wingers will start to come in as well.
Yeah, and look, Ian Sim was very prominent in that first half, wasn't he? He got a lot of ball on that left-hand side, and we've seen an error there. Both teams coughing up possession, one for the overthrow from Watsonians' line out, and then the Knights, who got themselves in a good position, just knocking that ball on and giving the ball back again to Watsonians. So real cat and mouse stuff here as we're now in that last 10-minute period.
These are the sort of battles that the Super 6 Sprint Series does throw up. They've all been relatively tight, very competitive as well, and this one equally
Stay
so.
on back row.
And Shield wrapping round, and Eddie Slater just firing out the line to put a bit of pressure on Shield. Now Borthwick bouncing off the first challenge, but he's been snapped down.
No.
Now Ferry carrying, fighting hard to try and keep that ball on the Southern Knights side, and does well. Now Eddie Slater. And Southern Knights doing well to retain the ball, looking to try and use their players as pivots. The ball now spilled over to the powerhouse Rory Knott. As the Southern Knights try and use the width, and now Afshar looks like he's found a little gap but keeps the ball alive. And it's been well gathered there by Borthwick, but eventually just squirms out his hands. It's a knock-on, but the game is really starting to get loose now, but this is where one of these teams could really grasp their opportunity.
Yeah, and look, Southern Knights are doing almost everything right. They're playing the game now in the right areas of the field. They're coming alive when they get over there, but Carl Davis, we've mentioned him a few times here. You see a lot of defences favouring to tackle a little bit higher and target the ball, and another really key strip there on Harry Borthwick, who was looking to break the line himself.
He's a very important player with the ball in hand, Harry Borthwick, a big important attacking exponent. Robbie Chalmers is going to come on to replace Biliwara in midfield. So a new centre pairing for the Southern Knights.
Is Billy moving to the swing, is he?
Oh, he is.
Patrick Anderson off, I think.
Not driving straight.
Penalty at the scrum to Watsonians, but I think you're right. Biliwara's taken up a position on the touchline. I think Patrick Anderson has been withdrawn.
Number 1 stepping out and around. Number 1 stepping out and around. Not driving straight.
Grant Shields penalised at the scrum, which gives the Watsonians fly half a chance to eat some territory here. It was a huge kick, but it's been well kept in by Callum Grieve. He was off the field of play, bounced it back in, it went back. And now Chalmers is making his Southern Knights debut. He's to try and attack from deep inside his 22.
Hughes 22.
Afshar's got some options. Round the side of the fringes, one of them sudden. Now Chamberlain finds Borthwick. Apologies if you heard any unsavoury language over the referee's mic there from some disgruntled Watsonians players. Fraser Rennick now carrying, and Southern Knights looking to try and keep the ball in hand and keep the tempo high, and Eddie Slater does well to break free. Now Billy Vara looks for his options, waving the ball about in one hand like a wand. Eventually it squirms out of the ruck, but it's been knocked on by Afshar as he's looked to try and gather it, but the Southern Knights have just burst into life all of a sudden.
They have there, and just another little handling error on the floor there from Wara after a really good line break. You know, he's such a talent, the ball in one hand. These little dummies that are causing the defence so much problems, but just a couple of times on the floor, just forcing that little pass where he'd be better served just to go through that phase, present it nice and quick and keep the pace high. So just letting the Watsonians off the hook here a little bit.
7 minutes.
Harry Borthwick just getting a little bit of attention and then checking his hair to make sure that his top knot's still in. And he's quite happy. He's going to trundle across towards the scrum.
You okay?
And it looks like Kieran Watt and Cole Imrie are going to come on to. They're going to come on for Watsonians. So a few replacements.
Here, guys.
Let's go, boys. You crop on.
We've been treated to a real blast from the 90s. We've now got Chalmers on the field. We've had a red path. We've got a shield. You know, 3 great players that graced this field back in the 90s, and were one of the most successful Melrose teams. And the Suns playing on opposing teams now. They're all back here together at the Greenyards.
It is always good to tell. Good to see the rich vein, the rich thread of rugby history. And that's a great rip there by Chamberlain, and now it's an attacking opportunity, and Ferry is the player with the ball in hand. He'll get to try and get the ball back, but he's been targeted on the floor brilliantly by Carl Main, the ex-Loughborough University student.
We've got about 6.
And Curry as well.
Holding on.
You know, Ferry's tried very hard since he came on, but poor decision there with 3 guys in that overlap. Just move the ball to the edge where the Knights have been getting a lot of success there, and he just went alone, tackled nice and early onto the floor, and pretty easily jackled. So neither team want to keep the ball for very long. The possessions back and forth here.
Five, 6.
Here you go, guys.
An attacking platform for Watsonians.
Step off a bit, 5, please. Thank you.
To try and secure this victory. And Cal Davis will throw the ball into the line out. He finds his target there and takes up his position at the back of the maul.
One stop.
A bit of a routine for him.
He hasn't changed his bind. Use now, guys.
Baggett is scythe down as he looked to try and take the ball forward.
No, it's just a knock on, guys.
And then Rudy Brown making a nuisance of himself on the ground as well.
22. Knock on.
Come on, Dan. Come on, cool.
It gives us a chance to see who has caught your eye this afternoon, John, as you get the pleasure of picking the man of the match.
Yeah, there's been a couple of key performances. I thought Harry Borthwick's gone really well. We talked about Billy Wara on several occasions, been very good for Southern 19. Moody's had a big impact on the game, but for me, Carl Davis has been the one. He's showed that all-round game, consistency at his set piece, been very tough over the ball, getting key jackals and been able to get over for a try. So.
And he's put his effort in at that scrum as well. So Carl Davis, man of the match 2 weeks in a row. Watsonians now look to try and cement their victory here. They've managed to release McPherson on that far side, and that is a huge collision. Billy Vara has chucked himself in there. I don't know if he's had any arms at all, but it'll be interesting to see what the referee says.
We mentioned this earlier, this is a big part of the game that the referees and the Dutch judges have. There's a lot of pressure on them to make key decisions around this, and as I say, the Dean were trying to make the game safer, and you know, it's a tough one because we've got Billy trying to go over there to save his team, which looks like a dead set try.
It's pretty clear. That's a shoulder.
Maybe just lost a bit of shape. Hopefully he's not got too high on that.
Where's the shoulder hit? Are we talking red or are we talking yellow?
We're talking yellow. It hit high on the shoulder.
Oh, okay, so it's a yellow card, penalty try for a no-arms tackle that would have led to a probable try against 13 Black. Okay, yellow card, guys, and we're going under the post for a penalty try.
So, Billy Vara is going to, once he's received his treatment, he's going to play no further part in this game. The penalty try has been awarded to Watsonians, so it takes the Southern Knights out with that bonus point territory. It's now a 9-point margin, but you feel if he'd just got his shoulders round there and wrapped his arms, he could have perhaps put in an excellent cover tackle, but he just chucked his body on the line, and now Watsonians firmly in the driving seat.
Yeah, and look, what I really like there about that was Loman McPherson. He didn't try to make that any worse than it was. He got straight back on his feet and back in the line, and you know, you don't want rugby starting to look like football, so big plaudits there to Loman McPherson there for.
Oh, and Jason Baggett almost just busted out the line to intercept that, and that would have just been the cherry on top for the Watsonians fly half, returning to his old stomping ground. And he was trying to claim that it went back as Loman McPherson looked to scoop it up as well, but the referee has just brought that back. As you can see, Cal Davis, today's player of the match, still issuing some instructions. And you know, just you were saying before, obviously the play got back underway. His all-round game over the ball, his line-outs have been accurate, he's carried well, he's tackled well. You know, he's again been very consistent.
He has, yeah, and it shows you, like we've talked a lot around the Suer6 and what that means, and these players, these slightly older players that with great experience here, are really bringing the level up, aren't they? They're really assisting these youngsters, that they kind of glue around them to give them this platform that they can express themselves as well. So credit where it's due.
Chamberlain just chipping over as the penalty try did put Watsonians also in that bonus point territory. They've got the 4 tries. And now Loman McPherson trying to break free from his own half. He's got some attention from the likes of Ferry and Chalmers in there, but Shield comes up trumps and gets the ball. So Kieran Watt with his red skull cap. He's wrapped up there, taken into contact. He's going to be put into the scrum for the Southern Knights, and they've got a bit of time on the clock to try and get within that 7-point margin, but it's going to be difficult against this Watsonian side.
Yeah, look, I think that'll be a huge motivation for them in this last play. Obviously getting nothing last weekend from the game, and being really very competitive this afternoon. This game could have went any way up until a few minutes ago, so they'll be looking to try and get something from it, from all their efforts that they've played a big part in this game today.
It has been fiercely competitive. Maybe the exclamation point on that is perhaps Billy Vara's hit in the corner. That was very, very competitive, but scrum's been driven back there by Watsonians as Eddie Slater finds Chamberlain on the wrap. Now Grieve looking to kick downfield. If this is a fortunate bouncing ball, it could fall for Sim, but it just bounces into touch, and the referee, Ian Kenny, brings proceedings to a close, and it is Watsonians who win 29 points to 20 away from home here at the Greenyards against the Southern Knights. And it was nip and tuck until right at the end, that penalty try. It could have went either way, but Watsonians perhaps on the balance of things maybe showed a little bit too much accuracy, or a little bit more accuracy than what the Southern Knights were.
They did, yeah, and look, they had very limited opportunities in that first half, but they were clinical with it, and they got themselves ahead at the break, and probably they managed that last quarter better as well. The game in the middle of it could have went either way, both teams contributing very well, but I think Watsonians shown the experience they have, the consistency they have in their squad, the recruitment they've done has been very good, around that, guys like Ian Moody, etc. So deserved winners here today.
They certainly were. It was a fierce battle throughout, as we've alluded to. Very high level of skill from both teams on display. But it was not to be for the Southern Knights, who have to try and still get off the board. And it was Chamberlain who got the first points with his penalty. Got Southern Knights in the lead, which they seldom had. And then after that, a well-worked move in the backs, which released Daly for their first score.
Yeah. We chatted about that just to Watsonians' first opportunity in there, and they come away with points, and then here again from a different angle. Great timing on the shoulder there, a great pass there from Jason Baggett, and a well-taken try.
Conversion as well was accurate from Baggett, who's returning to his old stomping ground, as we've said a few times in commentary. And then it was a chance, the man of the match, Cal Davis, driving at the back of that maul, managed to release his scrum half, Murray Scott, and he went in for the second score. And at that point, you felt that Watsonians were firmly in the driving seat.
They did, yeah. They were. That was their second opportunity to go into the Knights 22, and they came away on both occasions with points. But near the end of the half, the Knights, as a response, they started to claw their way back into the game, didn't they? They had their opportunities, and they applied a bit of pressure before the half as well.
And this was the try before half-time that Chamberlain, who just earlier had one chalked off, took the quick tap penalty, exploited the gap in the Watsonians' defensive line and went over for a score, which, in hindsight, it didn't mean much, but at half-time it was a big boost to the Southern Knights' confidence, and he got the kick as well. And at half-time, 10 points to 12, it was anybody's game.
It was, yeah, and it kind of was cat and mouse from thereafter. I thought Watsonians probably edged that third quarter, didn't they? And then parts of that fourth quarter, it was very much still in the balance, and then they came away in the end as well.
The 10 minutes into the second half, Baggett got the penalty, and then after that, Billy Vara popped up. He was pivotal in the second half, but this was perhaps his most positive contribution to the game with that interception try.
He was just physical, and I think he'll be one to watch throughout the season. And he played a bit last year as well, but in that midfield he's very physical, defensively attack, pushes the envelope a lot with his offloading game as well. And if he can just tidy that up a little bit and make sure that the bucket's quite equal, isn't it? All the good stuff and the bad stuff he does as well, then I think he could be a key player for the Knights going forward as well.
Another successful conversion attempt for Chamberlain did sneak the Knights in front, if not momentarily, because it was the player of the match, Cal Davis, who got his second try in consecutive weeks, probably an accumulative length of about 3 metres that he scored from. Yeah. But it's 2 tries, 2 man of the matches for him, and the captain certainly leading from the front.
He was, yeah, and it came off a set-piece starter for them as well. He was very influential at the start of that. Ian Moody had a good carry, and he was there to get back on the ball and get over the line, and whether it's a metre or 20 metres, they all mean the same.
Conversion from Baggett, and then the penalty from Chamberlain made it a 2-point game. But then this opportunity from McPherson, he was almost in, and then Billy Vara coming in and clattering the winger and stopping what would have been a certain try had Billy Vara not been there. But you think, could he possibly have wrapped his arms?
He could have. Look, he's working hard to come across, and a lot of momentum in the carry, but it's the wrap of the arm and also the height. The mitigation all lies with the defender. He's got to be able to look to adjust his height within there, so he's high, and we don't see really any arm there as well. So
it certainly was a pivotal moment in that game, because there was still a few minutes left on the clock, and Billy Vara got his yellow card. Watsonians got the penalty try, so they got the bonus point. So it is Watsonians who win here, 20 points to 29, and a lot of good performances out there. But another word about the man of the match, and Cal Davis, the hooker. He's led from the front. Last week he got a close quarter try. The captain, he's perhaps, in his own words, he's fortunate to be in the position he is after Ross Graham was injured and has moved away from the club. He's taken up a leadership role, 29 years old, and he's certainly coming up trumps for Watsonians.
He is, yeah, and like I said, him along with the other kind of older guys, Lewis Berg in the centre, played a big part today. they're the kind of glue around these youngsters that, and the experience that they have to kind of marshal them through the key moments in the games. Like it's an excellent way to develop. It's not just by the coaches or what's happening with the academies. It's the ability to play with senior players that have played there at a good level. You can learn a lot from, and the small conversations, whether it be in training or during the game, they'll pass all that knowledge down. And it's great to see these guys playing so well and embracing the level they're at.
You can see that the man of the match there, Cal Davis, just getting his man of the match medal from Jason Baggett, the fly half, who had a good afternoon by his accounts as well, just leading his team over the line. So Baggett getting the match winning penalty last week and helping getting Watsonians over the line here, 29 points to 20, and Watsonians with a bonus point victory keep a bit of pressure on Heriots up the top of the table. So it's certainly interesting in the FOSROC Suer6 Sprint Series. Heriots with 2 bonus point victories, a formidable victory over Boroughmuir last night, 22 points to 38 away from home. Watsonians getting their first bonus point victory here at the Greenyards, but it does put a little bit of pressure on Heriots at the top with Ayrshire Bulls yet to. They're going to be playing Stirling County later on in the last fixture of round 2. They're away from home against Stirling County, so it's certainly an interesting table, and it's difficult to call because Heriots look really strong, Watsonians look good, they're getting over the line, a victory away from home, and the Bulls as well looking like they're in good form.
They could, yeah, and there's a lot of contrasting styles as well. I think on paper, looking at last week's results, everybody had Watsonians coming here in for quite an armchair ride this afternoon, but the Southern Knights have shown that they've got a bit to play as well. And I think week to week we're going to get these really intriguing encounters, and it's going to be great to follow, and hopefully the excitement continues.
Definitely all the teams on display are wanting to throw the ball about, especially when the weather is like this. But that is everything from both John and I this afternoon. It is Watsonians who take the victory at the Greenyards. The final game of the weekend is coming up shortly, with coverage starting at 4:20. So join us back as Stuart McFarlane and Bruce Miller will bring you full coverage of the final game of round 2 of the FOSROC Suer6 Sprint Series, and it is between Stirling County and Ayrshire Bulls.